Hey guys, today we're going to be going over setting up MyFitnessPal. This should be a really easy training, and if you are in Trainerize, you should have already been prompted to set up MyFitnessPal. But if you are brand new to MyFitnessPal and you need a little help setting it up, that's what we're going to go through today. So we'll be using an app called MyFitnessPal to log your food intake every day. This is what we prefer on Team HOFIT just because it has the widest database and it's the most accurate database that I found when it comes to tracking apps. So MyFitnessPal makes it super easy to understand your daily food intake and reach your daily caloric and macronutrient goals. Just depending on where you're at and your kind of comfortability with tracking macros, your coach may set you up with just starting to track one macronutrient, so like protein, or if you are a little bit more comfortable, we may turn you loose. So it does just depend on where you're at. If you already have a MyFitnessPal account, you can go ahead and skip ahead to step number 2, but step 1 is just downloading the app. It looks like this. They do have it for both iPhone and Android. And I also want you to note that there is a paid version and a premium version of the app. While I do recommend it just because it makes for an easier user-friendly experience and it also allows you to set your specific goals and meal timing, it is not necessary. You absolutely can get away with the free version. I believe the paid version is $70 or something like that for the year, so it's fairly affordable, and it does, again, just make for a more user-friendly experience. When you first set up your profile, it will ask you for your measurements and current activity levels in order to give you your calorie and macronutrient guides, and we do not want you guys to follow these. This is a highly assumed calculation that it just plugs in your stats and spits back out some macros for you. And that is our job as coaches. You guys have hired us, so we will be customizing your macros for you. Then you will take those macros that we give you, you'll plug them back into your specific settings and make sure that everything is in alignment, but you will not go off the numbers that they give you. MyFitnessPal does not know you, just like any other macro calculator, so it makes a lot of assumptions. So HOFIT, again, will send you those custom numbers. And then you also want to make sure that you are not tracking your exercise in the app. So as it will offset the calories in the future. So we've already taken into account your activity levels and future burned calories. So no need to earn your food back. No other app should be connected to MyFitnessPal besides Trainerize and the HOFIT app, which we will get to that. So step 2 is add your coach as a friend in the MyFitnessPal app. So if you tap more on the bottom right screen, tap the friends page, tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner, then you will add MyFitnessPal username and you can add your coach. We've got our current coaches listed below, but we will add to the sheet. So if you don't see your current coach listed on this video, it has been updated. So just go there and check it out. And then fill in your name and tap the check mark in the upper right-hand corner. Step number 3 is to share your food log. This is necessary for us to view your food and for it to sync over into the Trainerize and HOFIT app. So go to your home screen in the app, tap more, go to settings, diary sharing, and then click public. We have to make sure that we have a public view of your food. If we don't, then we won't be able to do the food audits that we really need to do. Step 4 is to connect Trainerize to MyFitnessPal. We did send instructions for that as well through the Trainerize app, but if you have any questions, we do have some here as well. And then step number 5 is to get a food scale. In order to measure your food properly, you do need a food scale. If you already have one, great. If not, here is a very simple Amazon recommendation. Just make sure that it measures in both ounces and grams. If we are doing, cup measurements or, tablespoon measurements of peanut butter versus grams, it's really easy to overestimate or underestimate when really we could be more consistent and accurate. So that's why we recommend a food scale over cup measurements or, palm eyeball measurements. So bonus tips to be successful with MyFitnessPal. Copy and paste these tips into your notes and refer back to them whenever you need. I have referred back to these many, many times. So if you are brand new to tracking, I just recommend that. Take a screenshot or copy and paste these into the notes section of your app or of your phone and then refer back to them whenever you need. So Tip number one, when weighing and measuring your food, make sure that you track your food in the form that you are measuring it. So if you are going to weigh out 4 ounces of chicken breast after it's been cooked, then make sure to search cooked chicken breast in MyFitnessPal. If you weigh it out raw, then track it raw. So as long as they line up, you should not have an issue there. But you guys know, like if you're ordering steak at a steakhouse, they are, putting that in the menu as 4 ounces raw, but they aren't serving it raw, right? So it's losing some weight. That's like the weight yield when it's cooked. So just make sure however you're eating it is how, or however you're weighing it out is how you are tracking it in MyFitnessPal. Tip number two is log your full day of eating in advance. This will make your macro targets, hitting your macro targets 1,000 times easier. Please do not track as you go. This makes it a lot more stressful and takes double the amount of time and causes probably double the headache throughout the day when it's just not necessary. So even if you're giving yourself a little skeleton for 5-10 minutes every night before, take a quick food audit of what you have in your pantry, what proteins you have prepped, what potential meals you could be prepping for the next day. Giving yourself a skeleton and pre-logging some stuff will make your life 20 times easier. Tip number three is plug in your protein sources first when planning your meals. Then add in your non-negotiables like that piece of chocolate that you cannot live without. Tip number four is once you have tracked for a few days with your favorite foods and meals, that data will be there in your recents, and that will make meals a lot easier. You can also use the copy to function in MyFitnessPal, and this makes it a lot easier. So if you are a creature of habit, or say, on Tuesday of one week, you have a specific lunch and then you want to repeat that same exact meal on Friday, you can go back to Tuesday log, copy a specific meal over to Friday. That way, you know exactly what you're going to be eating and you already know the macros. So that is a great tip and function that MyFitnessPal provides. Tip number five is if you are cooking in bulk, I do provide a step-by-step instructions here of how to kind of input a recipe or measure things out if you're like bulk cooking a stew or a roast or something like that. So check out that video. It is of my friend Vanessa. And then tip number six, you have the complete freedom over your food choices as long as you stay within counting suggestions for your macro and calorie targets. Different cuts of meat will have varying degrees of protein and fat, so make sure you are selecting the right ones when tracking. So let me give you an example. A lean, skinless, boneless chicken breast is going to be a lot leaner of a meat versus salmon or steak, which comes at a higher fat content. Neither are bad. We are absolutely welcome to work in steak, salmon, shrimp, like some fattier cut of meats. However, if you are always going over on fats, or you notice that you gravitate towards higher fats like nuts and avocado and oil and peanut butter and those kinds of things, then maybe we opt for a leaner cut of protein like the lean ground ground chicken or shrimp or whitefish or something like that to save some of those fats. So you just have to be a little bit strategic. That's why I always recommend tracking the protein first and then kind of allowing that flexibility to be in the carbs and fats as you need them. And then tip number 7 is when you are eating out, search for the most similar items in the app and you will have a good landmark in terms of calories and macros. So if you're eating out at a restaurant and they don't have the specific meal in MyFitnessPal ready to track, then you can, pick you can kind of break down the individual ingredients on your plate and find similar options, and at least it'll give us a ballpark range. If you are eating out, here's, kind of a bonus tip here, add about 10 to 15 extra grams of fat, because chefs love to cook everything in extra butter and oil. And you can do a quick add in MyFitnessPal. So if you go to the add food button at the bottom, it should say quick add to macros or calories, and you can simply add 10 to 15 extra grams of fat. I always think it's better to overestimate rather than underestimate, so it's just something to keep in mind. So if you guys have any questions on this, you will also have access to this in your HOFIT folder. This is on the free resources, but if you do need access to it, please let me know. This will live in the HOFIT app as well as our Google Drive. So if you guys have any questions with the MyFitnessPal setup, let me know, and happy tracking.